Hi, it's Gary. Welcome to today's video. Today it's ink comparison day and I thought we'd have a look at a couple of reds. The first one by Pure Pens. This is Pure Pens St. George's Cross. Very nice red this. Pure Pens is a Welsh company and to be honest the only reason I bought this ink is its name, St. George's Cross. Obviously growing up in England, the patron saint of England was St. George. So that was, to be honest, what led me to buy this ink. I thought it's just a nice name. That's going to go up against Waterman Audacious Red. I like the bottle shape here on the Waterman ink. I also like the name. Again, it was actually the name that made me get this. Audacious. I mean, what a superb word. That's audacious. I mean, really is nice. So we've got here the bottles, just so we can have a comparison between them. You know, different shapes. The Pure Pens one, 60 millilitres. The Waterman, 50 millilitres. In terms of cost, the Pure Pens ink, that cost me 12 Aussie dollars. As I say, it's for 60 millilitres. So that works out at 20 cents per millilitre. The Waterman Audacious Red, that cost me 10 Aussie dollars, but that's only for 50 millilitres. But it also works out at 20 cents per millilitre. So in terms of that per millilitre cost, they're both the same. So it's a nice comparison even in terms of cost. Let's move these out of the way. You know, I'll show you them stood up, but you can't really see much with them stood up. That's why they were laid down. Let's look at my swatches for these. So the St. George's Cross, that is, no, it's going to sound weird, it's a red. Nice dark red colour. I like using this. I've recently been using it because in April was St. George's Day, so I always try to use St. George's Cross ink on St. George's Day. The Waterman Audacious Red, to me, it's a bit more of an orangey colour, you know, and certainly with more shades of pink in there. But when we look at these single passes, again, yes, it's a little bit lighter for the Waterman, but they are very, very similar. Let's turn these over and we'll take a look at the chromatography. Very different chromatographies. So with the, let's start with the St. George's Cross. We've been starting with that already. It doesn't actually move much up the page. And I think this was left submerged about 3 minutes and it hardly moved. What little bits we do see there, obviously we've got this dark red line which is very, very solid, so I don't think this is going to be an ink that you're going to have to worry if it gets any water spilt on it. But we do go to some nice yellows as we get near the top. With the Audacious Red, so we're pinker at the bottom, so it does start moving up straight away. Got some nice darker tones, we've got some pinker tones as well. But I don't see that fringe of yellow that I see in the St. George's Cross. Quite interesting. Let's do our writing sample though, because that's the most important thing. The paper is Oxford Optic paper, my standard paper that I try to use. Very nice fountain pen friendly paper. The pen is a Serendipity dip pen. This has got a broad Yoho nib on it. Again, it's a standard pen that I use when I'm doing my ink comparison. So we're going to start with St. George's Cross. Give the pen a nice dip, and we've got here Pure Pens St. George's Cross. Remove the ink bottle before I knock it over. Really nice, I like this. We'll write a sentence with it. Don't have to read it because I'm running out of ink. I say it's a dark red. It's not something which is slapping you in the face saying, look at me, I'm red. And as we run out of ink, we had them shades of pink there. Very, very nice. Quite like that. Take a look. We'll give that a few seconds to dry. Whilst that's drying, what I'm going to do is quickly step away from the desk And I'm going to go and give that dip pen a good wash so it's nice and clean, ready for the Waterman ink. So I've cleaned it off. What I do when I'm cleaning it, I actually pull the pen apart. So I take off the nib and feed, give that a good clean. I then use some kitchen roll to dry it off. Same with the body, I give that a rinse out. Then I get some kitchen roll and I stick it in there to try and dry off as much water as possible. I just want to give the inks the best chance to shine. And then it's a case of trying to fiddle this around when I'm on camera, just popping the pen back together. There we go. So now we're ready for ink number 2. Let's move the page up ever so slightly. So ink number 2 is Waterman Audacious Red. Let's take the cap off. So we've got here Waterman Audacious Red. It's nice. I say, to me, and maybe it's just the way I see it, it looks like it's got hints of orange in there. We'll write a sentence. You know, it flows nice, doesn't feel like it's sticking or anything, just keeps going really well. And this one I must have dipped in well enough because I managed to get through with one dip. There we go. Really nice, I quite like that. Quite enjoyable, both inks. You can see here the difference though. You can see the much darker St. George's Cross than we see with the Audacious Red. Even this first line where the nib was at its wettest seems a lot paler than what I was seeing with the St. George's Cross. I'm going to move that to one side. I'm going to fetch in my 52 GSM Tomoe River paper. So on here, I've written with both inks using my Diplomat Aero. This has got a broad nib. So starting with the St. George's Cross, again we can see it's got that darkness to it. No issues with ink flow, writes really nicely. The bottom here, we can see I've got my wetness tests. You know, it's fairly wet looking ink. If we jump backwards in time, this was when I had the Diplomat Aero with the Audacious Red. Again, I can see it's more of a pinky, orangey colour than it is red. Yeah, I often do think to myself why it's audacious is because it's not red. It's a nice colour, don't get me wrong. It's just, I think, yeah, calling it red is a bit weird. Can't really easily show these both. Let me see if I can hide part of it. It's hard to show both of them side by side because there's so many pages in between and I'm not ripping my pages out. So we'll just have to very quickly try and go like this. You can see there is quite a big difference between them on the Tomoe River paper, and these are both with the same pen. So let's fetch my writing sample back in and we'll see if we can get these bottles back in without rolling away. I like both the inks. I think they're both nice. My preference, I've got to be honest, and this is just personal, I like the brightness of the St. George's Cross. The Audacious Red, you can see here, it's still slightly wet on that line where I've just put the bottle. I'll have to be careful about that in the future. But the rest of it was nice and dry, so maybe it was because that's where it was thickest. They're enjoyable reds. I prefer the bottle that I get with the Waterman. I do like the Waterman bottle. And how much have I used? I haven't used that much of it really. Maybe about, it's hard to show. I don't know if you can see that. I think I've only used it 4 times. Whereas the St. George's Cross, you know, I've used about a quarter of the bottle already. And I've had the Waterman longer than I've had the St. George's Cross. I do find that's just an ink I enjoy using. And it's one of my go-to reds. So these are my thoughts on Pure Pen's St. George's Cross and Waterman Audacious Red. Now, I hope you've enjoyed today's video. I like doing these ink videos. I know they're usually short, but like this time where I was able to look at an ink that I use more often than one I don't. And it's making me want to use this Audacious red, so I think I might get that into a pen. Got a couple of pens in mind. I've got one which has got an extra broad nib, which may suit this really, really well. What are your thoughts on these inks? What other red inks do you like? I've got a number of red inks, but I'd like to get people's ideas. Not that I'm going to be buying any ink at the moment because I'm on an ink buying freeze imposed by the wife. But when I am able to start buying again, which could be a few years, the amount of ink I've got, I'd like to be able to build up a list of red inks to try. So please drop a comment down below. What red inks would you recommend for me? Please hit the thumbs up button. Every time you like, every time you comment, just helps with the YouTube algorithm. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel so that you can get new videos as I release them. I'll talk to you again soon.